Hey guys, we're back. We're just doing veto, so as we said, it's taken a few moments here, more than we had expected, but we'll be getting into this in a moment. I don't know if you guys know what this is. Like, there's this thing called like behind the gifs, and there's like they'll just basically make backstories to really popular gifs, and this one in particular I freaking love. So I'm gonna show it to you a little bit by little bit. This is so good because they're still doing vetoes. Wow, Scoob! It's like a Scooby-Doo thing. Look at that! You totally got the man-eating shark. Wait a minute. That's no shark. It's this kitty gif. This is like my favorite cat expression. His mouth is like kind of half open. He's like really happy. He's like, I'm in a shark.
I'm so happy that you're happy about that.
Whatever. You know, my friend Syra, she tweeted recently about how some guy tried to pick her up at a club with like a fidget spinner. And I was like, man, I'm so glad that like I'm not. This was my exact response. I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not a chick. I'd be so easy to impress because I'd just be like, ooh, it spins.
I mean, I feel like fidget spinner. I don't know.
The fidget spin. I love that fidget spinners have evolved from just like some nifty little toy to being like full on meme. Like this is like. Actually, I just opened. You know the 47ist, the guy who made all those posters for us.
Right.
He just tweeted a dude who came to the Comic-Con or Anime Expo rather as a giant fidget spinner.
Oh yes.
Oh, and he's spinning a fidget spinner in his hand too. God damn it.
He's cool. He's awesome.
That's it. I'm gonna do it. I'm making fidget spinner cheer motes on my own channel, not on BaseTrade, on my channel. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
Each cheer will spin faster than the last. The last one will be like.
I mean, that's kind of funny.
Hyperspace dimensions levels of spinner. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, I'm pretty positive somebody's probably beating me to the punch, but.
I think so too.
Yeah, the whole fidget spinners fad. What's blown me away most about it though is, and I saw kids doing this, or I would never have believed it if you had told me. I saw them fucking trading fidget spinners like it was Pokemon cards. And what blew me away for that is like, fidget spinners are probably between like 10 and 20 bucks each, right? And then there's really cool expensive ones that are like way more and like all that. But I'm like, man, you got away with trading Pokemon cards because each card was at most worth like $5 or something, right? Like even the shiny ones back in the day. So you weren't trading away like lunch money or anything like that. You're just trading away like a card. Well, I guess $5 would be lunch money. But like you weren't trading away a significant amount of money is my point, right? But you're like trading these fidget spinners with each other that are worth like $15 or $20 each. I'm just like, why though? They do the exact same thing. This thing spins, that thing spins. They both just spin.
They have different colors. Man. That's really why Pokemon trading cards happen anyways. Like I don't think people were really like, this is gonna be so much better at my Pokemon tournament. Like I think they actually just were like, I love Bulbasaur and I need one.
I grew up around tons of kids who played Pokemon cards, and I don't think a single one of them ever played the game. Everybody just traded the cards. In fact, it probably wasn't until fast forward 14 years later, I'm a young adult, that I see people actually playing Pokemon cards, right?
Yeah. I actually had a friend who competitively played Pokemon.
Major!
Card game.
AKA Special, like, loves Pokemon and stuff. I bet he plays. Sorry, go on, your friend.
I mean, probably. That's not the friend I was talking about, but you're right. No, that wasn't my story. It's just that she played. Maybe I shouldn't make fun of it. I know, like, Anna Prosser has been doing the tournaments lately, like, hosting it or something. That was pretty funny.
Yo, back up. Where was I sexist just now, apparently?
You said if you were a girl... I don't know.
Yeah, that's not sexist at all. That's just saying, hey, I would be really gullible. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I guess he's probably
I'm
gonna
not
say
gullible
that...
because I'm a girl.
Yeah, I think, yeah. No, you're safe.
Good.
You know, like,
yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty up on these things. I think he was just looking for reasons.
Zombie Grub's like feminist, so she's like my check. She's like, okay. So you know when you put the, what are those called? The pH strips wherever in the water to see how acidic it is?
You dip me into Rifkin jokes.
Does she come out angry? Does she come out mildly amused? Like that's that's the gauge.
I like that actually.
Okay, full map order is gonna be Odyssey, Proxima, Ascension, Sequencer, and Blood Boil. So starting off on Odyssey whenever the players are ready. Thank you guys for joining us, and it's another best of 5 we're getting into. But reminder that this is a best of 7, and this leads into the best of 7 with Snoot. This is still the semifinals match, best of 5 here.
Good deal. Wow. Just waiting on Nerchio to ready up. And then we'll be on our lovely way. I could Pokemon Go right now.
I'm Pokemon going to bet you do.
No, I upgraded my Pokemon Go shortcut to the second page.
Nice. I actually just recently upgraded. I got my first Dragonite. Is what I'm trying to say here. Very poorly. I'm very excited about this. Stream was with me, and I think Saldus Dub donated to rename it. My problem is, upon my excitement of like, yeah, I got a Dragonite, is realizing I have no candy to power it up. So I have like a decent Dragonite that I can't level up right now because I don't have any other Dratinis or anything.
Oh, there's so many Pokemon near me. Okay, we're going.
Can you show me? Can I be jealous for a second? Can you just put it on camera? Oh, I hate you. You know, you get more Stardust and more things for catching the like Pidgeotos and evolved Pokemon now.
I did not. I'm gonna do that now. The Pidgeotto that I have actually is pretty good. Oh, this one's actually no, this one's better.
Okay, well, Zombie Grub looks to spin to win. Oh my God, Pokeballs are just fidget spinners. Oh, well, she looks to spin to win and catch some Pokemon. We're gonna get into game number 1. It's the other semifinals for the Corsair Cup. Now, we've been talking a crap ton about Corsair, but quick reminder that this monthly finals, this sort of featurette that we have here, it's all made possible thanks to Twitch as well. This is the Corsair Cup powered by Twitch. In the top left side of the map, though, kicking things off, as I think last month's finals is a bit of a repeat. We got the blue Protoss ShoWTimE.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, it is Nerchio.
I'm actually going to tab out to check that. I'm pretty sure these two were in the last month's finals.
I think so.
Because it was Nerchio, I think, dethroned ShoWTimE from having so many in a row. Season 5 finals. Yeah, ended up being 3-1 in the favor of Nerchio over ShoWTimE, but ShoWTimE had won like the previous 4 monthly finals, several times against Nerchio even, prior to that. So these guys definitely have some history and some story here in the Corsair Cup.
That is cool. I just got a warning for going too fast and driving while playing Pokemon.
It's okay, I'm a passenger.
You're just casting is driving now. Vroom, vroom.
I just love that logic where it's like, okay, like I'm actually deliberately driving at 60 miles an hour while playing Pokemon. Oh, warning came up. Okay, I guess I'll slow down.
I guess you guys are right.
Pressing this button that's so easy to get rid of and dismissive in the way is much more challenging than just slowing down to an appropriate speed.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough.
By the way, thank you to how am I going to say this one? Organisms SC2. There we go. I definitely thought that was the other Orga word. He really likes StarCraft. You know what I'm saying? Nerchio, not at all unfamiliar with doing this, though. Pretty regularly gets pushed off of his natural and just skips forward to the 3rd so that he doesn't have to deal with any sort of harass. Joan, just look at a check where that probe is. No, he's transferring it over. Never mind.
Alright. I know Nerchio was a pretty consistent guy about taking that 3rd as a natural. Not always, but still pretty consistent. ShoWTimE though, what is his plans here? I feel like I've been casting actually a lot of TvZ and not PvZ.
Really, I feel like the exact opposite actually. But then again, you did just cast the BTSL without me, so maybe there's a bit.
Oh yeah, I guess that was the BTSL, just the Terran. Yeah, that probably was it. Yeah. Well, I just watched a couple of decent PvZs, I suppose, for SSL. And
oh yeah, they're doing that on Twitch now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was there live, but yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. I'm in Korea. If you guys forgot, I get it. I get it.
Ooh. That's why I said I was literally Pokemon Go while playing it.
That's a really nice Overlord pickoff, by the way. That's gonna be a nasty low supply block for Nerchio. Another Overlord won't be finished for a decent amount of time.
Shrine here. Well, the Link scouted the Robo.
Yeah, the Twilight Council was kind of off-put in a weird spot, but fast charge. Okay.
Cool. So I guess, like, speaking of SSL, one of the things that Classic did today was go for a charge lot all in, which is pretty cool. And I think it got a Warp Prism as well, so maybe if we see more gateways, I think it was like 6 gateways. If this is 4, it's kind of like that. I feel like 4 at this point in time is just that number that is aggressive, but you can kind of macro out of it, you know? But 3 is like the real macro number. Of course, he already has 1, he's adding 3 more, so. And following up with the Dark Shrine. Here you go.
The Dark Shrine I find a lot less surprising. That is actually what you kind of expect for these openers, right? The charge is so weird, mostly because I don't feel like it has that much effectiveness this early on. That is to say, like, they're really good against Hydras later, and they'll definitely win out versus Lings with the extra attack in there and what have you, but I feel like it's still, they're just zealots. They're so limited in what they can do.
And charge lots are... I don't know, charges are pretty scary, and I think it's even scarier is that ShoWTimE is going to be trying to pull Nerchio out of position with 2 Warp Prisms, eventually adding on Archons, of course, with the Dark Shrine, and this is going to be a lot of aggression. I mean, the intent to still take a 3rd base is there.
You know what? This actually makes me like this a lot more, that 2nd Warp Prism. I feel like ShoWTimE's the type of guy who has the micro and the APM to do, like, the Archon drop and drag while harassing with these Zealots.
Mm-hmm.
And Nerchio took his layer out here, his Roach out here. Like, he's actually got a lot of exposed tech on this side.
Yeah, I think that Roach is really, unless you have a lot of them, and 9 isn't exactly a lot, it can be very dangerous to have them up against charge lots. But if they're in the choke, I think this is no problem, so ShoWTimE does wisely disengage.
He does get the Queen, though, before doing so. He also did something really cool that way. He move commanded to save the charge for as long as possible, not wasting the charge damage on, like, the hatchery, for example. I love this out of Nerchio too. Throws out an Evo Chamber because right now it's melee units that'll get screwed over by SimCity, but there's no detection in the main. He can just straight up snipe the hatchery.
He never got a lair. Well, no, he did.
He did.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, but he didn't have it over here. It's coming over right now. He didn't expect the DTs in the main base.
Yeah, he didn't expect the DTs. That was so cool. I mean, good job out of ShoWTimE for the double pronged attack. I will say we're seeing more double Warp Prism as time goes on, but it's still not common enough, I think, for Nerchio to be expecting it.
I feel like there was a moment in time where I saw every single European Protoss do it, like Hearthstone, ShoWTimE, whoever else we're casting, and then they got over it or something. I don't know, but I remember that ShoWTimE was particularly impressive with his double Warp Prism control, so I'm glad to see that he's still doing it. And you know, I think the real trick about that 4 TT drop was not just that it was a surprise, is that DTs in particular kill things very quickly. So surprise DTs are definitely the worst surprise. And surprise Archons aren't much better, but that seems to be enough roaches to deal with this.
He's gonna catch a couple of them really low. Get that Overseer, I'd say, at the very least. Nah, just to go.
Adding in some charge lots. Nerchio is pulling his army towards the main, realizing what's going on here.
Well, my thoughts are if he had sniped that Overseer, though, these could have been DTs, for example, right? And that detection problem becomes a problem all over again. But Queen goes down. We still have this Warp Prism on the right side waiting to get in here. It's got 4 Zealots locked and loaded. But as I said, ShoWTimE is quite good at micro, so bouncing back and forth between these 2 points, focusing here while still macroing at home, like he's not really missing a beat, right? He's still getting the Immortals out back at home.
Yeah. Excuse me. His 3rd base was a little bit denied for creep spread, I think, but it came down pretty quickly, and he is having a pretty good game here. Killing that main base definitely puts a bump in Nerchio's economy. You can see maybe that's the exact spike on the income graph. But his production should be well in time for whatever push Nerchio has in mind. Honestly, if he is going to push, it's not going to look very impressive. In fact, yeah, I was going to say, ShoWTimE might be the one that wants to push. He's the one with the almost like counter army here. Nerchio usually has a bit bigger of an army supply to help out. Up 30 is not bad, but it can be complicated, especially with the force fields. Double Warp Prism just in case one gets sniped. I don't mind it actually. Essentially, just scoffed at it.
It does look a little silly, but you know it's still in use from earlier. If you're not trying to do the multi-prong attack, you are looking to just parade push one big army. Yeah, just use it however. Actually, I would love if you use this one of them for like micro tactics. Like pick up a drop with one of them and use the other one to just keep bringing reinforcements. I mean, the pickup save micro is so insane. He actually gets this one on the front lines as well, so Zealot's coming right to those Hydras. Force Field's keeping a lot of the army back, and those Immortals still looking to just do a ton of damage to these Roaches. Hydra's mostly gone at this point.
This might just be it. Nerchio had a 30 army supply lead to start off with, barely stalling at 20 army supply, but ShoWTimE needs a couple more reinforcements, and despite banking almost 1,000 minerals, I guess his gateways, they weren't plentiful enough, basically, and he's actually the one that's going to be pushed back.
Yeah, and it's funny because his tech's a little bit slow to this, right? Like his +1's just finishing up. I mean, yeah, granted, he forced a drone pull, but he didn't kill that many workers. Only 2 have died this game, so this trade for ShoWTimE, it looked really good initially, but then started falling apart there right at the very end.
Yeah. I don't know what 10 more charge lots could have done. Again, he was banking quite a lot. Maybe his extra gateways were a little bit late, so there's always that stall in between 4 and 4. I don't know. That might have been the difference of snowballing or not. But either way, I think that ShoWTimE can still be in a decent position. His army is still good, and now it has +1. But now it's Nerchio's time to see if he can do something. Just kidding. It was an overcharge. I think that Nerchio just needs to push ShoWTimE to get him off his back, as Nerchio's trying to take his 4th base of the gold, finally.
Well, as far as things are set up defensively, I think ShoWTimE should be good to take a fight. If Nerchio tries to push in, it would probably be a mistake. And I'm not just talking because of overcharges, but I think a big thing that went wrong for ShoWTimE was he was fighting into an open space. Even with his force fields, Nerchio still had like a lot of surface area. So here would be a good fight for Nerchio, but up here would not. I think that's what ShoWTime's hoping for. Yeah,
of course. It was a good cancel. ShoWTime's Warp Prism did survive in the bottom left. That's always going to be a threat. Nerchio has a handful of lings, but really not a lot to deal with a potential attack there. And that's going to be quite a pain as the game continues on. ShoWTimE getting his canceled, 4th canceled. It's still a big deal. That was nice. He's, dumping a lot of minerals in these charge lots, but double-pronged charge lot attacks and drops can really do a lot. This, not so much. That kind of felt like he was really hoping the army was just entirely out of position, right? Because there was no other attack happening. His Warp Prism is only now going in, and his army was not threatening in the middle of the map.
My concern for ShoWTimE, though, is that up to this point, he hasn't had to worry about banelings at all, right? And I'm not saying he'll be complacent about it, but now he finally has a big threat to the Zealots, which has not been an issue for him up to this point.
That Warp Prism tries to go in, but it wasn't just lings anymore. Nerchio had put Hydras with them too, so the Warp Prism dies in the main base.
Yeah, I'm just gonna see what else Nerchio really has at home right now. And I guess everything's just getting rallied now that he knows the Warp Prism's gone.
Yeah, it's dangerous. And I think he's like the baneling point is definitely a concern, because while ShoWTimE can dodge and weave and split and, let his bulky immortals take the shot, ideally you'd have storms to really blanket not just the banelings, but the Hydras.
Nerchio's sitting on the backside too, so he catches these Templar before storms are even done. Zealots are also exposed because he kept them back away from what's presumably going to be the banelings, but they find the connection on almost all the Zealots!
Oh, this might still be okay. Actually, Adept's coming forward now, man. But this was all types of awkward.
I feel like ShoWTimE's army was really jumbled there, right? Like, if this was because Nerchio made right moves, but if that had been the other way around, like the Zealots were on the left and the Immortals were on the right, this wouldn't have been a problem for him. That cost ShoWTimE a lot of his army supply. And those 2 Templar going down, those are meant to have the storms locked and loaded. Now these new ones he's warping in, they're still not going to have storms right away.
I think that trade of charge lots is perfectly fine, and the high template like that as well, if ShoWTimE had a 4th base. The first cancel hurt, the second cancel, really was a big wound, and if he gets a 3rd one, maybe this is the 4th one, the point is, it's canceled again. That's truly bad. And ShoWTimE, I think he had an idea of potentially taking the other 4th, he had a pilot over there or something, but he never could move his army over there to clean up those overlords. Plus, it'd still be a dangerous position to take, so ShoWTimE just hoping that storms can finally push back Nerchio's army, and then maybe he can start a very slow process up to getting maxed in a 4th base. Well, his army's coming in from a bunch of different directions, but actually ends up almost favoring him. Nerchio decides not to take the fight, lose a bunch of banelings. It's dangerous. Of course, ShoWTimE, he could very well once again be caught like last battle, where instead of charge lots on the backside, it's the High Templars that are caught. Finally, I guess it's an army that's more of a direct fight, one that Nerchio will be very hesitant to take against so many storms.
Yeah, it's really tough to choose here because you got to use the storms on the banelings or the hydras, and he just doesn't have enough for both.
Oh yeah, this concave actually was so good for Nerchio. Now all the charge boats have been warped in to even take out. Well, they died to the banelings anyways.
Yeah, the Immortals are usually pretty darn good units, but there's so many fast attacking units here, hydras, lings, etc. And they're all light, so nothing's taking that bonus damage. Archons are gone, ShoWTimE's dead, and there's no army left. GG. All right, well, game number 1 goes in the favor of Nerchio. Which, again, is not so surprising right now just based on last month's results. But, again, everything leading up to that point was like ShoWTimE, 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 ShoWTimE.
Well, I thought he had Nerchio really on the ropes. The third base attack looked quite strong, and Nerchio's fourth, I guess it was delayed, but when it did get up, it got up pretty smoothly. So we'll see about next game. It's going to be on Proxima. I'm invited here. Who's ShoWTimE's portrait?
Hang on. I know is that Neeb?
That's what I'm guessing it's Neeb.
I know Snoot was using Nerchio, so he's embracing the power of Nerchio.
I think it's Neeb. There.
Alright, well, Proxima for map number 2. Again, best of 5, so plenty of games still on deck. But I guess so much of that for me is it goes back to ShoWTimE chose to go for like really early charge, which is not objectively a bad build. Like I don't feel like it really set him off or behind. But it was the commitment to double warp prisms that didn't do that much damage. I think really ended up hurting him. I thought for sure like okay, that hatchery snipe was going to lead to drone kills, was going to lead to like just a snowball of bad things for Nerchio, but it just ended up being like the hatchery and that's it.
Yeah, an entire hatchery died in the early game, and Nerchio still ended up taking the win. It's kind of crazy. That's it. There was no follow-up, so so be it.
Well, in the bottom left, ladies and gentlemen, going to be the red Zerg player, Nerchio, up 1-0.
In the top right, as the blue Protoss, it is ShoWTimE.
All right, well, there's no real push you off to the third option on this base, I think. Nerchio would still want to choose this base anyways. So the weird irony is, I guess you would be pushed off to your natural, which is exactly what's happening. Because fast you take this base, better creep spread, yada, yada, yada. We know the runs and the ins and outs, but it's just so frustrating, kind of, and funny to watch in a way, that I think most Zerg players get kind of caught off guard by this. But Nerchio, for not just a month or a couple months, but for like this entire expansion, has been the guy to just go straight to the opposite base. Like he really just doesn't have time to mess around with a probe in the early game.
Yeah. And I'd say there's no maps really that punish it. Back in the other expansions, especially Wings of Liberty, where maps were just really, really interesting. If you took a third base in the wrong position, like that was a dangerous thing to do because those maps are really playing more to one base. Especially not 3 base. But now almost every map in the map pool always says the third base is necessary in Legacy of the Void. Because it is. Protoss all lanes off of 2 base are really, really, really old and not used very often, and they were the ones that benefited the most, it felt like, off of 2 bases. Although I guess Terran had their SCV pools at one point in time, didn't they?
I'm still so sad that like I was kind of getting into StarCraft as that was getting patched out. I would have loved to have been like that guy pulling a bunch of SCVs with Marines and just all inning.
Yeah, I mean, there was a pretty high moment when they pulled, like, I mean, I guess it's in the past, so I complain about all I want if I really want to, but, you know, when the Immortal Sentry was coming, you could recognize it within, like, 4 minutes, something like that. You actually just, the build was so obvious. And then you'd explain how it's going to work and then why it's difficult to hold on, and, like, that's it. The Terran SCV pool could be determined, like, when they're staying on 2 bases for a little bit too long. But still, when all the SCVs are pulled, like, everyone always reacted, right? Like, it was always like, oh my god! Mortal Sentry was like, oh, he's doing that thing. Go thing. Whatever. Point is, yeah, Nerchio can take whatever base he wants. I think it's perfectly fine. I'm surprised that other Zergs don't do it. I guess some were, and then just I don't know. Nerchio's the only one that's been super consistent about it. Stargate opener this time. Nerchio with the fast overload speed is going to be able to scout it. Well, the Phoenix is going to show itself first.
Well, that's interesting though, right? It is straight to Phoenix. So there's not going to be the Oracle diving in and casting Revelations, or I guess sitting back and casting Stasis Traps. Which, by the way, still the coolest thing to me is like how good players have been getting with Stasis Traps. By the way, I am really sad that we're not going straight to it. But for example, like we're seeing a lot of people go straight to the mineral lines, lay it down, catch all the drones instead of wasting energy. Sometimes catching people in bad counterattacks. Like, I love it.
I feel like the current trend for Protoss is a stasis trap. Like, who has the coolest, biggest, most consistent stasis traps? And what's funny is that yesterday in the BTSL, Hurricane was like a flipping baller with them, man. Like he had 2 oracles, and every single time he had energy, it was a stasis trap, and they were catching like, you know, the entire mineral lines at a time at some points. What was funny was because he felt like maybe such a baller doing this cool little thing. He never once cast Revelation and like died to an attack in the front of his face.
Just he's trying too hard is what it was.
Yeah, don't be that cool, guys. Like,
well,
take it down a notch.
Unless you can pull it off, is what the case should be. But
yeah.
Just while things kind of settle in here, people asking where I was yesterday. I got really sunburned, like really badly, to the point where I couldn't sleep. It was so painful. And to be clear, I know sunburns are not that big of a deal. I'm just actually a baby who has been inside casting StarCraft and playing video games for 7 years. It's the first sunburn I've had since I was a teenager. So it was a little bit rough for me to deal with.
Did you get any like oils or whatever?
Yeah, you're right. I bought 3. I bought I bought aloe vera lotion. I bought some just regular generic body lotion. And then I had this like really expensive face cream stuff. I tried a little bit of each, and they all seem to be exactly the same as far as quote-unquote effectiveness. Oh,
okay. No, I don't think anyone's gonna give you crap for it, because there's sunburn where it's like warm to the touch and kind of annoying, and then there's sunburn that turns into those boils that I think everyone has had at one point in their life, and that shit actually just straight up hurts. So
yeah, I wasn't quite infested in boils, but my arm was crispy and bumpy, that's for sure.
Yeah, it feels gross, and you don't feel good, and there's also a bit of like heat sickness, right? That it comes with it usually.
Oh yeah, I mean I've had heat stroke before. It's like,
yeah, it's not quite heat stroke though, is it?
No,
heat stroke's like way worse, but
it's just like exhaustion.
You still feel you feel like sick. I guess yeah, because of exhaustion or dehydration or like something like that. But I think everyone's experienced it. Maybe not actually. I've actually been thinking about it as I thought about like moving away, right? There's actually people who just have never really gone to a beach, and even though they have lakes, they never bothered to go to one. Oh, yeah. You know, and suntan and stuff. So I'm like, well, maybe this actually isn't that common of an occurrence.
I've been to a beach in BC, which is not really a beach. It's more like a sandy shore with like cold water. So I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago at BlizzCon when I went to my first actual beach. I'm like, whoa, this is sand. This is warm water. What? This is a real thing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we went to we didn't actually get to go to the beach when we went to Laguna Beach. We also went to Busan.
The Busan beach was really cool too, but I'd seen the beach at that point. So like, but hey, Finale, thank you for that stab to the boss. Appreciate it. ShoWTimE's been doing some really decent micro. I say decent by this because it's really nothing phenomenal. You're limited by the energy in the Phoenix. He's been dodging out shots. He's been handling himself exactly as he should be. I think the downside, though, is regardless of all of this Phoenix harass, Queen's getting picked off, 11 drones going down, Nerchio is still pretty much able to comfortably get to Hydras and Banelings. So this hasn't really waylaid ShoWTimE at all. Or, excuse me, Nerchio at all.
Right. So this is kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, as you're talking about Nerchio having a macro game pretty perfectly despite the Phoenix harassment, almost 70 drones, 4 bases, yet is doing an attack earlier than usual, I would say. You know, this isn't a Baneling all-in off of 3 bases, but it's not Hydra-Ling Baneling either. It was supposed to be a surprise. Nice little present wrapped up in
I got you a surprise and you ruined it.
Yeah, but it was ruined by the Phoenixes scouting it, because I think that was actually a very smart move. Like, this was such a fast attack with only the Lings and Banelings that it's almost like, even with the super fast storm that ShoWTimE got, it would have hit before it. Those High Templars would have had to morph into Archons. Now it's done, and maybe it's a lot easier for ShoWTimE. Probably is.
I think what's cool about that, too, the idea of the attack is like, okay, you think ShoWTimE's spending all this time focusing on the Phoenix micro, that he's definitely not looking elsewhere, that he needs to look, right? So that
Yeah.
element of surprise can be big, but there's so many storms prepared for this. I feel like if ShoWTimE even haphazardly throws them down, he'll still get good hits. He just has enough of them.
Concaves, attacks from the back, like these are all things that can be death to a storm-centered army. And this is a pretty big concave.
Cannons were
Sending in the
attempting to go down.
banelings, couple at a time.
Okay, force fields were a little bit slick and a little bit scary, but oh, looks like the sentry will go down. Did have to cancel the Nexus, but the trade there was kind of interesting, as ShoWTimE lost some of his Templar and sentries in the expensive units. Nerchio also gave away a lot of banelings to make that happen.
That's true, but Nerchio with 4 bases, more than 70 drones at this point, and you're looking very secure there. I was going to say, I think there needs to be more than just Phoenix harassment, so I was wondering where the Warp Prism was. Well, it was headed to the main base, and that is crucial, bringing the army back, forcing very, expensive Hydras.
Or Nerchio doesn't go back at all and says, you know what, you just wasted a lot of Warpins on the wrong side of the map.
Oh,
The
God.
storms are just barely enough for the banelings. They'll still get to the probe line.
Oh, man, they have +2, but enough of them rolled in anyways. 22 probes go down. Maybe ShoWTimE holds, though. If he had a 4th base, at least building, I'd say he replaces those probes, but he still does not.
Yeah, fending off the Hydras is being kind of tough. I mean, that worker count, 23 probes dying, is tough to deal with. Phoenix is coming now to pick up some of the Hydras, some more free kills. He continues to hunt him down, but with the War Prism having been shut down, with no continued damage to Nerchio, I feel really bad for ShoWTimE. He's out of storms. He's out of, well, we'll say economy for now, because he lost so many probes there. And I feel like Nerchio just has to play macro and he wins.
That's kind of what I'm feeling like. ShoWTimE, and unfortunately his army is so positioning based that even like that scary, well, I guess I have to all in now, really isn't that scary. As soon as he goes in the middle of Proxima Station, especially, the storms have to blanket literally like, 270 degrees, and that's just, it's not going to happen well enough. So, gosh, just had like, deal with it and try and still slowly expand and slowly build up that army, which is sounding very familiar to last game, which he ended up losing. I'm really missing the oracles, by the way. Like, we mentioned stasis traps earlier, but Revelation, of course, too. But I am thinking stasis traps specifically to defend, not for harassment.
Well, defensive stasis traps are one thing, but actually, you bring up Revelation, it's a good point, because he regularly doesn't know from which angle which units are coming. Like, are the banelings on the left or are they on the right? Are the Hydras coming from the right? Doesn't matter, because they're all coming from the front now.
Yeah, well, it's funny, though, because there's been such good positioning from Nerchio that even knowing that they're attacking you from all different sides, I mean, how much can he really help?
Yeah. ShoWTimE's army's falling apart pretty quick. I mean, the supply is still holding up, but it's not going to be good enough. GG. Nerchio with a 2-0 lead. I just love that it feels like, I don't know if it's the map pool or the 10 health on the Hydras, but like, you watch this timeline of like ShoWTimE, 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 boom, patch hits, Nerchio. Now it's Nerchio some more. Like, I'm not calling him a patch there, don't mistake me here, but it's just it's really interesting watching how big of a detail that patch actually made as far as the impact on this dynamic of these two players. I don't think ShoWTimE objectively got worse. I don't think Nerchio got like way better. I think there's just like that very distinct difference of map and balance that goes with them.
I think it's also a little bit with the map pool coming into effect, really being perfected from all the races. As we're actually going into a map that I think Protosses have said is kind of difficult. Ascension to Ire.
Well, we're going to do actually a quick commercial break before we hit up Ascension to Ire. So the lobby's up, and we'll basically be going as soon as the commercial break's done. We'll see you guys soon. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us for whatever reason, one of these guys is doing pretty darn good right now. Unfortunately, it's not this dude in the top left. Spawning blue, spawning Protoss, and possibly on the outs, it's going to be ShoWTimE.
In the bottom right has the red Zerg. It is Nerchio, looking quite powerful.
I mean, like, a 2-0 is not so unexpected that you're like, whoa, the game has really changed. But it is, again, just, I think, with these two players and their history, a bit surprising to see.
Well, that's all it take, like, one off day, one good day, and a mixture of other elements. I feel, to get to a 3-0. And ShoWTimE not looking as crisp and solid as usual. Usually he's very, like, it's like a rock. Like, you don't seem to beat him. And even if he does lose, it's very barely and still with almost, you know, almost, I don't want to say flawless, because I was going to say flawless, but some of the best defense you'll ever see. Whereas this one, it's like, it's a little lackluster. Nerchio is finding not just, you know, ways to capitalize on a macro game where, you know, nothing really happens like last game, but also ways to come back in a game where he just loses an entire hatchery in the first 7 minutes, which was the first game. So that's that could either be just ShoWTimE having an off day or Nerchio doing really well. I think it's a mixture of both, as it can happen. But ShoWTimE looking to take it back. Still potentially 3 more games to go. A ZVZ between Snoot and Nerchio wouldn't be too bad, though. They also have historic ZVZs, being some, I mean, at one point, if not still, I think still, called the, you know, 2 best Zergs in Europe. So.
I would agree with that statement. Yeah.
I can't give anyone else who's actually giving them a run for their money. Well, I guess Cyril, like, is kind of like this new kid on the block, right?
I don't know, new kid, like, air quotes, like, Cyril is actually, in my opinion, like, the best Zerg player in Europe right now. And I would say trades off with Nerchio as far as where I favor who's better. But it's again, it's always so hard to compare to StarCraft 2, like, which player is objectively better than the other, because even if they fight each other, that still doesn't mean anything. For me, though, it's you take a look at things like tournament results, and you're going to always see Nerchio on the top end. You always see Cyril on the top end. You're going to see ShoWTimE in the top end. Like, there's no questioning that these are guys. If this was Korea, this would be the code echelon of players.
Yeah, I guess Snoot at this point is just being beat out by Cyril. Of course, there's like a ton of other European Zergs that are always vying for the spot, I suppose. A Laser, Lambos answer, like, tons of them. Bly earlier today. But yeah, Cyril, I still like he's a new kid on the block. I mean, he's actually played for like 5 years.
I'd say he might be a new kid.
Pretty damn young.
He's younger than the other guys. Yeah, that's, I guess the.
But he's really only had his true breakout performances in the last 4 months, because that's also coincidentally when he had a break from school. So.
I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that, but he's definitely had good performances in the last month. Like, there's no refuting that. I just don't think.
What happened beforehand?
I just don't think it started. Like, it's not like, oh, this guy, like, suddenly, boom, finger snapped, and 4 months ago he started getting good. I think he's always been good. He just hasn't had, like, first off, a region lock system to compete in. Secondly, like, there's not been as many events that he could have attended to. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to juggle because we're not casting Cyril. But the point of it is, like, I still think he's a really good player. So is Nerchio.
Well, I mean, I wasn't trying to start an argument. I was just actually, like, genuinely curious, because I think it was Austin where everyone was like, this kid's actually really good and he's going to do well in this specific tournament. And then I've had it coming true. And then, of course, there was the last WCS, and then I guess was the upcoming WCS. Yeah, Valencia is coming now too, and that's maybe we'll really see people like concrete, because it's also like a kind of a storyline for Need. But none of the players here today. Ling drop not gonna work out.
Yeah, that's a nice deny out of ShoWTimE for Nerchio. This should have been such a cool sneaky attack, but the Adepts being there, like that hit before the pylon was down, there wasn't gonna be an overcharge. Now the Phoenix can push off the Overlord. Ends up being a wasted investment, but not by much. This isn't so expensive for Nerchio to have done. And here's that Oracle that we were missing from the entire last game.
Yeah, and it does live. ShoWTime's going to take a faster third. I think it's the fastest third he's taken so far. Add on his Twilight Council and his Forge, and have a good old-fashioned macro game. Blur.
By the way, big thank you to Megadog for the 7-month resub. He says, congrats, Zomgum, on making the round of 8. Rifkin, congrats, Rifkin, on being better in StarCraft 2 than me.
Wait, you're just taking a game. Jeez.
I want to say I actually objectively did not do this the worst in the tournament. I did not go 0-4, so I'm happy with that.
No, you did not do the worst in the tournament. I think that's going to be Fear Dragon's Honor.
I think if I had practiced my Cannon Rush a bit more than like a couple games, I think I could have taken Coca, to be honest.
I think you could have. He didn't even know you were Protoss.
I know. I love there's like the middle. I think he typed something like, I thought you were Terran or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's pretty perfect. Speaking of, those Adepts barely made it back to the Photon Overcharge range, so they get to live.
This is really nice to make sure Nerchio's not doing any, like, he is actually being shut down in every turn this early game, but That doesn't mean he's in trouble just yet. He's just not been able to get free damage here on ShoWTimE. The probes, long distance mining through that transfer awkwardly. Puts him in danger zone here of the Lings. Oh, no. Forces a fight that he maybe didn't want to have to take. But he's got to protect that supply line. Only loses a couple probes for this.
All right.
Ah, Revelation, a handy tool. I actually, you know, I don't think ShoWTimE did such a bad job playing without it last game, but it was noticeable just how different that was, where he very clearly didn't know which side the Banelings were coming from, when the Hydras were going to move in for the attack. But even playing blind like that, he played really well. So I'm hoping that with Revelation, we see an even better performance out of ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I think he was making the best out of a very complicated scenario. Nerchio is not just, like, you know, great like other Zergs, you know, taking concaves, finding good positioning. He seems to be, at times, especially good at that part of playing Zerg. Like, actually bringing back games where the Protoss seems to have tipped over a little too much to the late game by splitting up his Hydras, Lings, and Banelings every which way. He's one of the only guys that really does mass Hydra drops as well. Not too commonly, but every once in a while, and he's one of the only ones that does it. So, just, like, it's always going to be difficult, basically, even if you know it's coming, to really have enough. And by going for, you know, pretty quick storm last game, still pretty quick storm this game too, but that really is a lot about positioning, finding them a little too choked up, finding the Banelings a little too grouped up, and that just didn't seem to happen often enough last time on Proxima. Nerchio going to 5 base, 80 drones, is just going to start building up his army. ShoWTimE's going to place his Warp Prism. Nice little position to threaten. Nerchio, of course, saw it with an Overlord. It's not a surprise. This has to be in the game.
I also like that ShoWTimE's keeping tabs on these Lings too with that Phoenix, so he knows, like, okay, while I'm moving out, I can't be too careless back at home.
2 Overlord drops, but I imagine that is just for Baneling drops to one of the mineral lines.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming up on +2 weapons too. That'll work out nicely for him, but these depths are not going to get much more than Lings, unfortunately.
Yeah, ShoWTimE moving out to the middle of the map, but yeah, I don't think he'd actually take on Nerchio's army. And he's just looking for an opportunity when Nerchio's splitting incorrectly against the Warp Prism. Pulls back. Oh, this wasn't for probes. Maybe for sentries. Or High Templars.
This is actually really cool. I like the idea of the Bane Rain to get past those force fields, which have actually been a problem, but also just the fact that Overlords can take a hit from storms for Banelings can't.
Yeah, you know, the 2 Overlords don't even drop Overlords.
Oh, it's getting focused, though.
Be clicked, potentially.
He does get the he gets the Banelings off. They take out some of the Templar in the back line. But man, ShoWTimE, he's still got cannons, he's still got overcharges. Nerchio can't just push in here to auto win.
No. And now he's out of Banelings, and he's realized he didn't take out a lot of the charge outs with him. That was just before +2 was done. Maybe just a little overzealous with was hoping was a prize with the Banelings.
Yeah. Someone in chat saying, Rifkin, you'd win the co-op tournaments. Yo, did I not just say that when we were talking about this stuff?
Of course you would.
I was like, if
you
this
might
was
even
co-op,
win the Archon tournaments.
If this was co-op, I would have beat all the other casters.
Well, Nerchio might have been beaten back one time, but this is really just him powering through with the army. He has nothing really stopping him from continuing to attack, because that Warp Prism attacked once and never really again. It is finally warping in now, and just looking to, I guess, walk into the natural this time.
Yeah, Nerchio's putting all his commitment on the other side of the field, though. Banelings do get in. Force is a little bit late to the party. There's not really any more storms left. I don't know how we could possibly deal with these Hydras, but so many of them are so close to dead.
Yeah, and his charge out warp was just used on the other side of the map.
Oh, the A move just made them kill an Evo chamber. That feels bad.
And it's really not a lot to defend against it. Just the queens here, so they're gonna get a few drones. Maybe the queen. Yeah, 11 drones is not bad, but now we have the army pulling back, the reinforcements pulling back and cleaning it up. The Warp Prism lived, so there's another counterattack available, but ShoWTimE lost his 4th. And a lot of his High Templars, too.
Yeah, the gas in that 4th was probably more important than anything else, because not only is he replacing the Templar for sake of storms, but he needs more Archons. He needs more things that can deal with the Banelings. And even beyond the Banelings, the Hydralisk number is just so great. What are we up to now? 33? Because don't forget, Nerchio had a lot of them survive from that attack. Granted, they were low, and they're still kind of low, but they're healing up slowly, so that Zerg regen, nice.
Yeah. ShoWTimE did remake his High Templars. Seems to be just in time. He has 7 of them. Well, no, there's 5 of them. But I think they each have a Storm.
Oh god, the
those
Banelings.
are awfully clumped up. But so are the Immortals, so he uses them on them. Okay.
It's an interesting trade out. I mean, there's no charge lots to worry about, so it's not like he wasted them per se. But while this goes on, ShoWTimE is getting some more harass. But unfortunately, a lot of what he's doing with these charge lots is not lasting damage to Nerchio. Nothing here that he's done. Like, he killed an Evo Chamber, a couple Queens. Like, Nerchio's probably like, thanks, I need more army supply room anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's always important to pull our Zerg army back to give you that time to finish your 4th base, to give you the time to build up energy on the High Templars, but you're kind of hoping for them to really be out of position at least once, so you get like a full base or a full drone line. It hasn't happened yet. Nerchio is also just, I think, blindsiding ShoWTimE with this move. A very smart move indeed. Like, ShoWTimE did not have eyes on the army. He probably noticed that with the lack of revelation, so he moves over to the 3rd base and just demolishes it. Oh my god, that Stasis Trap though. That's a lot of Hydras.
It's good to finally see a Stasis Trap in play though. It takes out literally half of this force.
Yeah, that's pretty effective. If that wasn't the case, the Immortals were way far ahead of the army. They probably would have died. But now they're just going to be, well, disjointed. They're going to die. They take out an Immortal. One Immortal with them.
No, that was good. ShoWTimE finally needed something to go in his favor here. Swinging back to his favor too, you know, we got more gateways coming down, better production. We got +3 weapons done for upgrades. I mean, it's still this problem where I think Nerchio's macro, the fact that he owns half of the map and his income's been great. In fact, what's the income look for both of them? Yeah, it's been mostly Nerchio for the last while. Like, he's able to just keep slamming body after body after body, sacrificing Banelings and Hydras into the army of ShoWTimE. And every time he does, like, ShoWTimE, what does he do? He reclaims a base he had already lost. Like, it's not a great position for him still.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought that Oracle had died. I guess it was in the 3rd base just gaining so much energy. Maybe he forgot about it. But the one Stasis Trap it did put down at the time was perfect. Now he has 3, I think, on the map. Very useful. But yeah, Nerchio not trying to get to a greater spire. He talked about just continuing to throw bodies while he still has the economy, and he'll have it for a while longer, but there's usually that time which you cannot take on the Protoss army. There's just too much unless you get that beautiful positioning, which hasn't been the case yet. And that time might be now. Like, ShoWTimE's almost maxed out with so many beefy army units, and Nerchio, I mean, he never tried to get to a greater spire, never tried to get to Broodlords. 1, because a lot of, I think, Zergs don't like it, and then 2, because maybe he thought he really could win just by overwhelming. Might not be the case. Well, thank you to Alaska Winter for the 41-month resub, and Bacon Hero for the 6th month.
Yeah, send some hearts their way too. Do you know... This is like the worst vague thing. Hey, do you guys know the Korean guy who was in GSL? What's his name again? All of them? Like...
I feel like there's a joke in there I'm not getting. It's like a legitimate question.
Yeah, me too. I'm assuming it was a joke because it wouldn't make any other sense otherwise. But I'm really curious to see how the double Stargate play works. Like,
that works. We're right over Hydras.
Nerchio has not been one to really... I guess ram his head against the wall against many things, but Golden Armada has been one of the few.
Yeah. Yeah. If Nerchio, again, could find this army out of position, or, like, it's split up right now, right? And Nerchio had all of his army in one position, maybe he takes it on. ShoWTimE could be transitioning, you know, dangerously, I guess, best way to put it.
Uh-oh.
But it's...
How many Banelings is this? This is 75 Banelings. This is like 80 Banelings coming in. Even with the Storms and the Archon soaking them, that's still a lot of damage. But Nerchio gets pushed back on both angles. ShoWTimE pushing in.
Nerchio can't remake that army. He's trying to make 16 Hydras, but he also spent money on an Infestation Pit and a Spire that's just not going to be useful.
That was like 80 Banelings. Like, the resources lost right now was kind of close-ish before. Like, now it's insanely... Wow. I talked about Nerchio being able to throw money around, but that's a bit extreme.
Yeah. And that attack not working kind of feels to me like just the end of the game. Like, ShoWTimE kept a lot of his army alive because a lot of his army is just so bulky. And he is now, at this point, safely getting to carriers way faster than Nerchio is getting to Broodlords. So he's lost that fight.
Oh, the Oracle had lasted so long. Finally goes down. Feels bad, man.
Yeah. I guess maybe if ShoWTimE, again, like, finding himself out of position could still be his greatest weakness. His carriers are rattling out to 1 point, and that's where the Hydras are, or something like that. But in a direct engagement, Nerchio, I feel, should never win. And even if he does get to Brood Lords, and that's the direct engagement that happens, I still don't think that the Zerg player will win. Said it. Protoss overpowered. But no, I think ShoWTimE just, like, I think he defended well enough, played a very calm defensive game, just calmly remade a 4th base that he lost, and on his way to a 5th, and weathered the Nerchio storm that was 15 minutes long.
I guess it's funny called the Nerchio storm because it's been ShoWTimE has been using the storms, right? But this is that's a really good description of it. I mean, this has been a really hard-fought battle. I did not think he would come out ahead for 17 minutes later, but he might be pushing a little bit too far. He's out of a choke too, so Nerchio does have a surround, but that carrier, it's one carrier, but it's actually doing a ton of damage to the Hydras.
And he has more carriers. I was wondering where they were, taking their sweet time getting over here. Yeah, Nerchio, I think he knows he cannot beat that army despite being still on 2 healthy mining bases. He just lost so much bank. Those banelings especially. I think he really, like, even because he's, like, maybe trying to get to Greater Spire before he taps out, but I also think he knows he wouldn't find much use in it.
Hatchery does fall. Trying to push up this ramp, it's a little bit tough because he doesn't really know what's waiting for him other than this initial batch of Hydras. I like that he pulls back for the moment, kind of reassessing the situation, but he can't wait too long. He doesn't want to give Nerchio time to rebuild that army.
Yeah.
Ooh. No GG, just the tap out. Classic Nerchio.
Yeah. Thank you to Robothari.
Yo, actually, so we've had several people become the bit boss, but no one's using the boss powers so far. Don't forget to boss glory for some free loot, guys.
Ah, yes. Well, he also reset for 36 months in a row, thanks to 3 awesome years.
Nice.
What's going on?
All right, well, we're going to Sequencer next, right?
Correct.
Game number 4. Again, that reminder that there is a best of 7 grand finals. Winner of this versus Snoot. So it might be ZVZ, might be ZVP if ShoWTimE can bring this back. I fully believe that ShoWTimE can, but it's just tough because Nerchio has looked really good. Even that game that ShoWTimE just won, I would still say Nerchio looked good for a majority of it.
He did, but I feel like that was a lot more of what I expect from ShoWTimE. Not in the fact that he won it, and, like, I expect better from you, but more just, like, the calm, collected, defensive, smart play that makes him a very consistent player, even if he isn't always winning a DreamHack or whatever. He is just usually getting at a decent level. And Nerchio says to wait.
Okay. Well, if he needs a couple of minutes, we'll take a break. I mean, it's been a while since that last one, so we'll see you guys here in hopefully just 2 minutes. All right, back just in time for a new bit boss and for game number 4. Juvia Loxer in chat said, "Boss has powers now?" Question mark. Yeah, so the boss can do a couple of cool things. Granted, it's like a global cooldown thing. Oops, sorry, it's not. Shouldn't have something at 1 point. There we go. Real quick, if you are the boss, you can tax everybody in chat and steal 5% of their points. They're Makarovs. If you are the boss, you can do Boss Glory, which will give you a free item that only the boss can get. And then you can also Boss Give if you're feeling vanilla. I think it's Boss Give, or I don't remember what the good one is, because nobody ever uses the command. But you can also give everybody points as well. It's kind of cool. So the boss, there's definitely, like, it's worth being the boss. But it's game number 4. He's got 1 point on the board, and he's not out of it just yet. Spawning the top right side of Sequencer, we've got ShoWTimE.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Nerchio. Ho ho! Ho ho! He took that base before ShoWTimE even got there.
Slamming!
Yeah, that's gonna work for sure. Thank you to Vigilante1024 for the 34-month resub.
Oh. Well, yeah, as you guys continue to come in and resub, cheer, bits, whatever you plan to do, just thank you for the support. It's really nice to see. I know we've been kind of here and there and then coming and going. We've had a lot of downtime through the end of last month, but hopefully we're looking to hit July really hard. So make that sub worth your while. Of course, we'll be sending replay packs from this tournament, as well as many others out after the cast is done today. So if you're a sub, you can look forward to that too. If you want to learn to play like Nerchio or Snoot or whoever. Although,
yes, if you get a replays, you will learn.
On that note too, Nerchio's been streaming recently, which I thought was really interesting. Hearthstone too.
Oh, yeah.
Two guys who don't usually do much streaming.
I'm glad. Nerchio does play in a lot of our stuff still, so it's still cool to watch him. But I was thinking more to Hearthstone, where I just don't see him very often. He feels in tournaments, so to see him at all sometimes, I feel like there's a huge gap between basically the WCSs, where I just didn't see any of them. I was like, well, where exactly is his skill level? Caster,
He's
apparently.
caster skill level now, yeah.
Great minds think alike, Rifkin.
All right, well, regardless of our shots fired needlessly at other people, no, it's really been cool. Like, I think what I enjoyed most actually was, I want to say it was like even the HOTS beta. Like, Nerchio's streaming was such a rarity, and just his commentary is very real and straightforward. It's not like hokey pokey or boring. He's just kind of like, it's Nerchio, really. So I love that he's added in a camera and he's really upped the quality for things, and maybe we'll get to see more of him. I don't know. Some of these guys are really, like, I know Major, aka Special, for example, is really hesitant to stream, much less even play in things online, because he just doesn't want to show builds for tournaments. And I wonder, like, for people like Nerchio who play in so many online things, like whether it's Ladder Heroes, like earlier today with Fear Dragon, or whether it's Corsair Cup here with us, like, you know, his builds are out there in the public. It's very clearly been seen by many people. Does he care that much?
I really want to pick the brains of a bunch of different types of pro gamers, actually. Different personalities, but also different regions, of how important that is. I think foreigners usually have always been on the side of, like, it's not as important. They've been more willing to play in tournaments back when, of course, Kespa was a thing, so that was always, I guess, their stereotype. But, you know, the Koreans were very, I think they gave up the whole Kespa thinking very easily, so it's always a question of, did a lot of the Koreans really think that was important or not?
Oh, no, actually, we can say that it's not, because we've talked to so many of them about this, right? Where they're like, no, Kespa were like the only ones who cared about replays. We never really cared at all.
Yeah, of course, the replays. But I mean, like, occasionally we still get, I guess, the odd, like, you know, I can't play in that because GSL is the next day, or I'd rather not play that because GSL's not, like, something like that. But as far as, like, no, I need to hide my builds for a month because I could win GSL plus the next, like, you know, like, that's pretty old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So to hear anyone say it is kind of, yeah, I wonder what everyone else thinks about it, basically. Like, was there a shift in mentality, or was that always the case and it was just hidden behind, you know, higher-ups, I guess.
All right, well, we'll get the minor harass going down here, and Overlord's being chased down. Finalius was asking chat about the Mega Tournament fundraiser, because we haven't heard much on it recently. So yeah, there's not really been a lot to hype up for it. We hit the last reward tier a while ago. We're kind of working towards the next big show match. If we're going to be brutally honest with the rate it's going, I don't know if we're actually going to hit 30K by the end of the year, but we're at about $9 point something thousand raised, which is awesome. So everyone give yourself a round of applause. And we're still looking to do a tournament. It's just going to be a matter of when. So the idea with the mega tournament is it's helping provide money for, like, say, a venue or renting cameras or whatever, so we can put on a really big, awesome show. If there's less money, it means a smaller venue. Maybe it means less cameras. You know, it limits what we can do production-wise. So it's going pretty decently. The other thing, too, is we just talked, Zombie Rob and myself, yesterday about trying to get some of the rewards up and running, like the postcards being sent out and, like, the names on the wall, which we have not done up to this point. But hopefully we'll have doing soon, and maybe that'll give people more of an incentive to get involved with the fundraiser. But right now it's just been pretty stale. It's the middle of it's like any fundraiser out there, really. Like, you just the middle of it, there's not much to be said or done.
Yeah.
I'm hoping with my fingers crossed, I'm hoping as we get closer to, like, August and October, like, we'll start seeing a little bit more, because I think it closes in November. I guess we'll have to make updates on that too. But yeah, slowly and surely we've been doing the mega tax. It's been adding in a couple bucks here and there, which is nice.
Yep. Still chugging along, as is this game. Nerchio slapping down all different types of tech at the same time. Infestation Pit, Baneling, Hydra, Baneling Speed. Wait a minute.
Double Banelingness. Yeah, that's a mistake. Or maybe it's a preemptive, oh, I don't want to lose the important one.
I said it and then I realized what I said.
Yeah, they're literally next to each other, so I don't know. That's
Did you mean to make a... A Roachborn? It's the only tech he's missing.
Maybe. But this is what I really like about this matchup, right? Okay, this silliness aside, this looks really weird to look at. This matchup's been pretty much set in stone as far as what the compositions are going to be, right? Like, there's not a lot of variance. It's pretty much always going to be Storms and Chargelots and Archons and Immortals versus Lings and Banelings and Hydralisks, right? And not a lot of flavor outside of that. And because of that, it sets it to the point where you're no longer playing a lot of guesswork, and now it's a lot more skill-based, micro-based, macro-based, like who can keep up better with their opponent in this weird sort of race where it's not a surprise as to who's going for what. But as I say this, a surprise does rise. It's 7 swarm hosts.
All right, didn't say that from the invitation pit.
So I kind of like the idea of this, though. If you think about it, Sequencer's got a lot of these spots where the rocks are off or like the bases are separated. Like, you could very easily launch swarm hosts from here and go to this base. I can't say this is a phenomenal idea, but it's for units, right? So
we'll see how it plays out. It is going to be scouted, which I think is a little disappointing, since they're not that popular. The initial 7 swarm hosts on top of a Nexus kill is always ideal, but more protected this time. I don't know if ShoWTimE reacts especially to it, like different tech or something like that, but I think just more awareness that a Nexus could be under fire very instantly. Timings of how he takes fights is going to be very different as well. Like, it's going to be a lot around are the locusts available or not, as opposed to 20 extra Banelings or 10 extra Hydras or whatever it would be. I also wonder how it's going to work out against the High Templar dynamic. He could just actually try and snipe them with the locusts. Oh, instead he catches an Archon. Oh, that was a nice bait.
well, as it breaks down the rocks, this opens the door for Banelings. The locusts are all on cooldown at the moment, though. What?
That was a really good bait, man.
Well, so it brings them to the ground, which is huge. We saw this with who's it, Gumiolandia's Vikings. Same tactic. Like, it takes away the lifespan of the locusts because they're slower on the ground, right? But the fact is, like, if you had still had to take a fight around that still would have gone so poorly.
Right, which is why I was so far out. He literally was on top of the army. The Hydras just weren't there to protect the locusts, basically.
Oh, he's off cooldown. Or he's not off cooldown, just say he's coming off cooldown as we speak, but loses most of the fodder for the army, so he throws out the locusts again, but unless he's actually microing them and commanding them to ignore, he can get baited down again. No, he's just going to land on top of the...
Oh, no.
Oh, not.
Run. Yeah. I guess Storm can help deal with them if they are attacking one choke, kind of, and they are all attacking that one immortal. That wasn't too bad. But you gotta remember, looking at the army supplies, Nerchio is always going to be a little not as high as it looks, since what? It's almost still a lot of supply, right? It's like 15-20 supply.
I don't remember. I know they tweaked the cost. I don't know if they tweaked the supply, because I remember that was a big thing to talk about 3 supply or not, but. Regardless of the supply cost here for a moment, because Nerchio's not exactly reaching max yet, what I do enjoy, for ShoWTimE's sake, is despite the Locust, he's actually ahead in resources lost, and you'd imagine it's the player with the free units that would be ahead in the resources lost tab. But right now, it's favoring ShoWTimE, so it's good. It just basically means he's had good defense so far. This is going to be a problem, though.
It's not the scary amount of Locusts that can kill literally any base, no problem, though. Like, this is an amount of Locusts that if it's only the Nexus, that'll probably die. But if it's 2 cannons, then that's not the case. If the army is only a foot away, if it's only so far away, then it doesn't actually kill the Nexus. Like, that is a big difference. And also that Nerchio really hasn't used them effectively yet. So, this has not been awesome Swarm Host play. And
big counterattack.
It's really hurting.
War Prism over here, kind of off to the side. I guess Nerchio's Overlord just barely doesn't see it, so... Oh, they're choosing Abathur. Good to know. The Zealots get in here a little bit as a surprise. 9 drones go down. Spore Calling is taken out too. A couple more drones before they die.
Yeah. That's pretty worth. Although, Locust finally getting some turn damage, I guess 6 probes went down, but still not a lot.
It's tough
Nerchio...
There's not anything you can really do about this, right? You can't just keep planting down cannons. They'll keep getting killed.
Well, I think that's fine, though. ShoWTimE is past the point of, I need to be very careful with my army, I think. He's had 4 bases consistently for a long time, giving him not only a mostly maxed out army, but also a safe transition to carriers. I think it was more on Nerchio to actually do something as it was in the last 3 games than it was ShoWTimE responding well to Locust. I think he responded perfectly to them because they weren't that much of a threat.
Well, right. So I mean, my point though is just like there's no way that you stop this and you get to set it and forget it. You're always gonna have to react in some way. But it's a good point about the carriers too, because with those spawning out in a moment, those will be able to snipe off the banelings. There's almost no Hydras protecting these swarm hosts. If the army actually stays here in the middle, oh, he's actually just gonna push in on it. Oh, this is risky because he could get hit from behind. There's an army over here waiting.
Oh, that could be really good. But Nerchio wasn't quite on top of things. Didn't realize the army was pushing towards him. Otherwise, that could have been a fantastic collapse.
Yeah, they come from the backside, rolling into the Templar. Well, it looks like ShoWTimE will, for now, get away with this. Yeah. Chargelet's coming from the north side, soak the Hydras and Banelings over there. I mean, carriers might not even be necessary at this rate, but he is going to have them in a moment. Nerchio's not going to be happy about that.
This looks very good for ShoWTimE. Even as he's retreating, I think he doesn't even really... Just needs a couple of charges. Yeah, exactly. Just needs a couple of charge lots, bring those carriers forward, and he should be pushing Nerchio back. And no, Nerchio was a little bit faster to the hive this time. It's still not a Greater Spire on the way, so I think ShoWTimE just has the advantage.
You know, not that I'm saying they need this, and there should not be any buffs, to be clear. It's funny watching a charge lot running into something and do a massive amount of damage, but a Locust literally like dive bombs you from the sky and does no damage on impact. You'd think it would work the other way around.
Yeah. I guess because they never dive bomb the unit. They're always like a space away. That's what it's supposed to be anyway. Because Broodlings dive bomb a unit, and they do get melee attacks. So.
Well, carriers are looking pretty darn good. Nerchio's not throwing down anything close to Corruptors. Like, he's got a Spire. He's still sticking to Banelings and Hydras, I guess. Long distance mining as he takes new bases. Money's not a problem for him right now, but unit choice is going to be, I think. There's no upgrades for the ranged weapons, so these Hydras are going to be kind of not so good.
No. I do wonder. I think this game is kind of over. Nerchio doesn't really seem to have a response. But I do wonder why he wanted to go Swarm Hosts. Was it the map? Did he think they're just really good on the map? Was it something that he wanted to experiment with? Or what? Because I don't know. It got rid of all that like almost barely worked pressure that happened in the last 3 games. You know, the one that just seemed to be like constant Hydra Baneling, constant. But instead, it went to like a couple of Swarm Hosts that didn't do very much. So I wonder why the change up happened.
And before people try to make a big deal, but what did Nerchio say? He says, "Zerg, so OP, nerf please." I'm sure he says with distinct sarcasm.
Hey.
It's really interesting though, because I don't think ShoWTimE's really varied up his builds a lot. Like he's changed minor things with his builds, games 1 through 4 here, and a lot of it's just had to, I think, better control as time went on, better games as time went on. And it's not like he wasn't warmed up, because for those who don't know, both Nerchio and ShoWTimE, while they didn't play each other, they did play in ladder heroes leading up to this. And I don't know what it was for ShoWTimE, but these first 2 games just looked, if we're gonna be brutally honest, bad for him. And then these last 2 have looked really good, like he got his shit together type thing.
Yeah. I think this is what happened the first time they played together, like a couple of Corsair Cups ago, Final Cups ago, is that Nerchio was up 2-0 and then got reverse killed. I feel like I really distinctly remember that. Because it was just like what I remember being boggled as I am right now as you explained it. Initially ShoWTimE didn't look that good, and then suddenly Nerchio was looking very like uncertain about himself, despite being, you know, what was up 2-0. Now tied up.
Oh, every time I move my back, it hurts. You know what's funny? I don't want to like show it, but you know how like, so I've got like a V-neck shirt, like one V-neck shirt that I happened to be wearing the day I got sunburned. So I've got this little like diamond triangle thing on my chest, like like I'm some kind of super like alien thing.
You know, like when you like press into the arm that's red or whatever, and you can make a white mark.
Yeah. Yeah,
do a Superman right there.
I think that would hurt, and I don't appreciate you.
It's a little hard pass.
Yeah, it's a hard pass. Maybe like a day or 2 from now when I'm feeling less crispy, but I'm really sad because I can't go do a bunch of Pokemon Go. Actually, for those who don't know, just side note, I've been streaming a lot of Pokemon Go. It's been kind of chill streams, kind of fun. I've been walking around town, exploring new places. So if that interests you at all, once I'm done being sunburned, I'm going to get back on that train ASAP. But hey, Wyneck, thank you for the 22-month resub. We had some other people. I'll have you go look them up because I don't have Twitch alerts open while I introduce these players. Spawning in the top left, we've got the Red Zerg, Nerchio, whose hatchery appears to be covered in... It couldn't possibly be snow. Is that salts?
It's sugar. It's cocaine.
Spice. Everything nice. These are the ingredients to make the perfect Zerg.
God.
And the bottom right... Oh, sorry. That's right. I did it.
I was like, what the fuck, man?
You got it. I stopped. My bad.
In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, it is ShoWTimE.
I realized when I say, I'm like, wait, that's right. I introduced Nerchio. My bad. I'm sorry.
But no, I'm also like, again, going back to that series that I was trying to remember, I think I remember also Nerchio getting so fed up after being, well, you know, tied up 2-2 that he early pulled the last game. Didn't work. Not this time, though. And ShoWTimE would have scouted it anyways, as he does scout the third base.
And by the way, there was a distinct change made to this map. This is no longer a gold base. Although, if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't feel like this base being the gold base was what was broken about it, because I want to say it was only in the last month we saw Zerg players really start taking and abusing that gold on Blood Boil. Prior to that, it wasn't the case, but it was still a problem that this was a Zerg favored map, and there's so much more to it than just the gold. So I don't think we're going to see win rates change drastically with the tweak of just this one base. Well,
that'll definitely be an advanced point of reinforcements if he's the one being aggressive anyways, as well as creep spread. Of course, being the downside is that if ShoWTimE's the one that's aggressive, then that's just a very long road to reinforcing your pretty important base.
Yeah.
But ShoWTimE hasn't done any 2-base all-ins. I mentioned, I think in the second game today, they're just not done very much at all by Protoss anymore. Although it does happen. Charge out all-ins, mostly.
By the way,
yeah.
I was kind of hoping you were going to take that hint to open up Twitch alerts, but I just did, so it's all good. And I'll give a big thank you to Soccer Nerd for that Prime sub, Lupe for 10 months, Avex for 2, Wyneck for 22, and then of course CMOS we just shouted out. So we should be caught up, but if we've missed any of your shoutouts, do let us know, guys, because it is sometimes hard to keep track of those things. But Stargate coming out of ShoWTimE again. I really liked his Oracle play. I hope we'll get to see a little more of it. I'm really... It's not about the damage they do. I don't really care whether this Oracle gets like 5 kills versus 50 kills. But the Revelations, the Stasis Traps, these are things that have been like really essential to being able to deal with Nerchio.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Someone's calling you on Skype, I guess?
My mom is.
Oh, do you need to take this?
I'm actually really worried. She doesn't usually call me.
Yeah, go ahead. Just poke me when you're back. All right, so hopefully there's nothing wrong. Maybe her mom just butt dialed her. What time is it? It's 3 o'clock on the East Coast, so yeah. Blacksword, thank you for the 31-month resub as well. Zombie will be back here soon, hopefully, guys. And again, fingers crossed it's not that serious. But going back to the Oracle for a moment here. What's going to be kind of nice for ShoWTimE is the fact that this base was put off to the side. Any sort of attack here early on, like, and it's certainly tempting, right? Any sort of attack here early on would have been like, okay, no creep spread, hard to get there, but Nerchio's already covered his bases with this, so to speak, and literally, too, as creep tumors to place down. So he's connecting the bases up. He's not going to have that struggle going from base to base. And with Spore Crawlers already down, this Oracle's got limited damage. So Nerchio's early game here is covered, and he's not going to be feeling too bad for it soon. But, ooh, there was 5 drones on that extractor. Perhaps a bit of a mistake. It's okay. We didn't see anything, guys. Wink. We talked about this base that used to be gold too, but it's also worth noting the base in the back, the one ShoWTimE's taking, has 1 less gas, but 2 more mineral patches. Like, this is, I think, a 20 base saturation, not 16. So what's nice about that back base is you can get a lot of money from it, as if it were gold, but it still takes a lot of the workers, which is still part of the problem. So I'm wondering if that has any influence on why Nerchio chose to go out, reach out this far instead of, like, this base, this base, this base for his 3. Either way, for the big question mark, obviously it is not what will ShoWTimE aim for. We know what he's aiming for. If he can get to it, carriers seems to be his jam. It seems to be what he's really hoping to have happen. But Nerchio, can he put the screws to him before that's the case? We saw it in Game 1 and Game 2, right? A lot of pressure. Made it very difficult for ShoWTimE to build anything, really. But come around with, say, like, Storms, we got that Hydra bust. Maybe it gets held off again, and maybe ShoWTimE easily sails towards carriers. Either way, Bailey Nest is now being placed down. Hydra is about halfway finished, and we know exactly what direction Nerchio is going. Also, welcome back, Zombie Grub.
You don't know how much of a, like...
Stop, I'm gonna call you. Sorry, guys, that was, Gonna hear the annoying sound for a second. There we go. Sorry, it was really bad for lag.
Oh, okay. Is it good now?
Yes, welcome back.
All right, yeah. You don't know how much, like, I was, like, getting ready to, like, cry, man. Like, pre-cry.
You're like, my mom's calling me. She shouldn't call me. It's like 3 o'clock,
No,
though.
like, well, exactly. The last time she called me, like, you know, out of the blue in the middle of the night, like, it was because my cat had died.
Oh,
Like, last time I was in Korea. So, like, I was, like, super worried, but it was my mom being my mom, basically. But I guess the credit, my credit card, like, was potentially blocked, which is not an emergency, but to her, I think it's an emergency, so. I
had the suspicion your mom, like, maybe butt dialed you or something.
Well, that was my other that was my other hope, I guess, is, like, it really wasn't that bad. And it's really not that bad. I'm not that worried.
What's that, guys? So, it sounds like we need to give Zombie Grub donations because your credit card's not working. So just get out your wallets and make it rain.
How do I get the money if my credit card's not working?
We'll worry about that later. We're trying to scam our viewers right now. Don't you understand this?
Oh, God. Okay. Adrenaline rush over. I'm good. Thank
you, Tempest of Chaos, for the Twitch Prime sub. Prime's awesome, too. They're giving away a lot of cool rewards this month. If you guys haven't looked into it, you really should. But, okay, I kind of talked a little bit while you're gone, just about like where the direction of this game goes. And what's really neat is, you know, Blood Boil with that back base, I think more than ever you can afford 3 bases to go for that 2 Stargate if you want to. But ShoWTimE's just sticking a double robo, a lot of storms. He's even got cannons up at the front already. Like, he's ready to take a defensive fight.
Yeah, I mean, playing pretty defensive has worked out for him. Not to say he didn't play defensive in the first 2 games that he lost, I guess, but it was without that seeming, and I don't want to use the word perfection, but the just the better defense that led to the next 2 games going in his favor. Now he seems to be, as you said, like maybe like not warmed up because he was playing before, but back in the groove or something like that. So I think the point is, he plays the style he's playing the last 2 games. I think it's the best chance for him to win. But Nerchio was given a lot of opportunity to just get that macro going, and it certainly has gotten going. Good thing that ShoWTimE has this little drop to pull the Hydra's back, because Nerchio is getting ready, not just a Hydra bust, but like with Overlords. And I brought that up that he does this, and it's super cool, but it's going to be delayed for a little bit.
So you guys are witnessing bad camera work on account of the fact that he needs to duel CK Walsh. This is, he mugged me in chat. Feels bad, man.
Ugh. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Who was it? Terminator, I think, was the one who donated last time, gave everybody a rob, right? It just sent chat into like this frenzy of everybody trying to steal items from me. Had like nothing left at the end of it. But yo, Nerchio has actually done Doom drops in the past. This is not so like, oh my god, what a crazy strategy. We have no idea how, like, it will work. I guarantee you it will work, but only if ShoWTimE doesn't see it coming. And right now, this is kind of funny. Nerchio split up his forces in such an odd way that Nerchio is going to be distracting ShoWTimE down here in such, like, oh look, there's a lot of Hydras. Look over here with a non-committal while he Doom drops towards the main. And looks like ShoWTimE doesn't see this coming.
No, he has no idea. I mean, it's not very suspicious to see only half of Nerchio's army in one location, because usually it's hitting another base, but not usually dropped. So that's the big surprise. That's where a lot of tech, of course, is going to be. A pylon depowers everything.
Oh, it gets a lot of the Templar, too.
Yeah, only one gets a storm off. Not very effective. I mean, it depowers things that weren't researching, but if he gets the Templar archives, it'll be a very nice pickoff.
This 3-pronged attack out of Nerchio looks really impressive, and ShoWTimE's army supply is suffering, but he's not won this just yet. As he breaks the front door, the cannons finally become in range. This has been stormed so many times. These Hydras are so low in health.
I mean, even though Nerchio caught him totally by surprise, there's always a chance that the chaos doesn't actually add up.
I think what I would have loved to have seen here, there's Lings missing from this in a big way. Also, he went for Lurkers behind this too, which is a very different change up to things, but well, Hydras are great. There's no Lings to cause that chaos, exactly. Like, it's just Hydras, which are slow and kind of easy to respond to. Easy with air quotes, mind you.
Yeah, like, Lings tend to get, like, everywhere at once, and that makes it a lot more chaotic. I think you still,
Lings?
Good point.
In my base?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Hydras, I guess, the chance of them getting a concave and being just like actually game ending is there. This wasn't that game. They did end up getting Templar Archives, which I said was a pretty good kickoff. There's still 3 High Templar left, and I'm sure that's one of the first things that ShoWTimE's going to try and reinforce with, and realize and rebuild. But Nerchio, okay, he finds a lot of Immortals.
The problem, like, he's really close to breaking ShoWTimE, but ShoWTimE's holding on with that army supply. Like, he lost a lot of his potential defenses here, but the actual army is holding him not too badly.
Well, he's actually playing with fire without protection for those Immortals. Ends up just coming in last second with the charge lots.
I'm also now aware that Nerchio is going for range upgrades. Something that's been distinctly missing from every game in this series. So Hydras, which have been kind of hidden like wet noodles, are now actually attacking really hard. And on top of this, there's no Guardian Shields to reduce any damage. So Nerchio is like, these Hydras are more effective than they've been in 4 games leading up to this series.
Yeah. Plus 2 only recently finished. But yeah, definitely actually had an upgrade for them. Certainly, ShoWTimE has been pulled apart. So there's a lot of reconstruction that he has to do. As I said, like rebuilding Templar Archives, which I think he already did. Yeah, exactly. But Nerchio also, like, you know, he dedicated a lot to it. This is not him advancing his tech. He does double expand, though, already on 5 bases, and that's definitely called for, but...
Well, multiple angles of attack coming in again. Lots of storms on the bottom side, but there's lurkers here, and those can eat some storms. Yeah,
they can. Immortals do join the High Templars, though, and that looks like a much better army against what Nerchio has. But Nerchio has a nice concave.
But is this taking too much away from the other base? It's a lot of charge lots, and there's Baneley's waiting to meet them in this army.
Well, that might still be good enough. As long as those charges aren't the most pumped up thing. Oh, yeah, an observer.
There you go. Yeah. It's a little bit worried about that, pushing into the lurkers the way it was.
Such a high chance that that's not the case, though, because there's been so much chaos. Kudos to ShoWTimE for remembering.
Both the robos get depowered, by the way. So this starts actually affecting the production. 17 more Hydras behind this. He's going to stutter for the probes, but telling the robos might be the better option.
He needs a pylon not to power his robos, but to warp in charge lots.
Oh gosh, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, he warped him in the naturals. So they do come in time. 16 probes die, but that's not truly devastating yet. It's not great, but it could have been worse.
Looks like there's an attempt at some counterattack too. What's went on? So Nerchio couldn't just rally everything across, but it's like 2 charge lots. It's not that threatening. He does focus the warp prism down too. I like that choice a lot.
I think that combination of attacks is what really puts Nerchio in a very good position. Before, it really was still pretty even on the supply. Nerchio's rally wasn't quite coming fast enough, but that gives him a very good overall supply. And he even has like a little bit of that higher tech with lurkers to add in case. Just in case, I guess.
It's actually really cool to see the lurkers. I like the add-on quite a bit, and I was worried he would almost invest too much into them, but this has been like a couple of lurkers with the majority of the army still being Hydras and Banelings. Comes in from the backside too. He's going to catch Nerchio in a surround. There's no force fields to keep the army back.
He's not really getting the best storms, and now they're all gone, and that's just going to force Nerchio to collapse in here.
Yeah, Stasis Trap coming down. Might catch a couple of the Lings, but I don't know if it'll be enough of the army for this to matter. Nerchio's just got so many Hydras pushing in. Oh, yeah, the robo production was delayed for so long, so these are the last Immortals. New one's popping out now, but, I mean, he should have had such a bigger army, but so much of his production was killed through the previous attack. ShoWTimE looks like he is going to fall. GG! Zerg is OP. Can we get a nerf, please? No bamboozle.
Go back.
All right, well, that is going to mean we got a ZVZ final, Snoot versus Nerchio. This will be kind of interesting. Thank you to Matty for this Prime sub. Crazy enough for 16 months. Thank you guys both for your support. Got some bits coming in. Terminator wants to be the bit boss. There's some Muxies. Oh, look at that little tail wag. It's so cute. But, all right, so there's no vetoes for this. It is just map picks. So we'll see you guys in a couple minutes while we figure out what map is going to be first in this best of 7 finals. Snoot versus Nerchio. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back soon.